Unscripted.
Going back and looking at some of the information and some of the stuff that Digital Foundry released towards the end of the year, it was a bit of an eye-opener, because once again we were sort of left with this compounded difference between Microsoft and Sony and how they were able to achieve different things through various different processes. And I feel like Sony was much more able to get their kind of ways out there a little bit better and a little bit more effectively on the PS5 than Microsoft has with the Xbox Series X. I think this is one of those instances where you sort of don't want to count Sony out in any type of way, shape, or form. Like, I used to do this a long time ago, and I would really count out, Sony and what they were able to do and what they were capable of. And it always ended up coming back to haunt me, from the different things that I would say, the different things that I would hear, and things like that. I think it's really smart to be able to have sort of different circumstances and different sort of ideas when you're talking about your console. And I think Sony gets that. It wasn't just about T-flops, or it wasn't just about compute units or things like that, whereas Microsoft really kind of pushed that as the be-all end-all and ended up looking really kind of bad for that, because at the end of the day it didn't end up working quite the way that they wanted it to work. And it was something that they had to kind of address later on and say, oh, well, we don't really know why PS5 is outperforming our console. I don't think there's a gamer out there that honestly predicted that the Xbox Series X would get outplayed by all these third-party games in such a manner. And not only that, but we kept hearing how the Xbox Series X would in fact be the only console to do true ray tracing and hardware-based ray tracing and stuff like that. And like, according to Digital Foundry here, the best implementation of ray tracing so far this generation has been the PlayStation 5. And even Phil Spencer was a little bit cooled off on the whole idea behind the ray tracing, saying that it wasn't that big of a deal, and it was really kind of up to developers whether or not they wanted to utilize that. And I think that the fact that he's kind of cooling off on that, and not only that, but look at it this way. I'm not saying that the Xbox Series X didn't have lackluster tools or whatever. That's on Microsoft, right? They launched a product that probably wasn't ready to launch. What I'm saying is, even with tools, they're going to struggle against the PlayStation 5. The PlayStation 5 is just a better console. And don't get me wrong, don't get it twisted and go, oh man, he just said it's more powerful. And I said better. I didn't say more powerful. I said better. I still hold firm in the belief that on paper, the Xbox Series X is more powerful, but I still 100% also think that the PlayStation 5 is just a much, much better console, much more thought put into it. Anywhere you look at it, there looks to be much more thought. Like, obviously, when you're designing something and you sit there and you see the PlayStation 5, it's a pretty fascinating design, whether you love it or hate it. But it does deviate drastically from previous PlayStations. You see the controller completely deviates from other controllers that PlayStation has. Even being called the DualShock is no longer that, it's the DualSense. They completely redid the UI. It's like this complete redesign, rebuild. And then when you look at the Xbox thing, it's like, you get this brick with the same controller, the same UI, the same experience, the same everything that you were already getting. So you can already see right away that the differences there are a lot bigger than like skin deep or whatever. So very interesting to sort of see that kind of come about and the way that fans have sort of reacted to that. For me personally, the 12 hours that I put into the Xbox Series X or so, I haven't really noticed much of a difference between the One X and that, like graphically or anything like that. I think that like there could be some frame rate differences, but I also want to point out something that was very interesting that I thought of the other day, which was the fact that my new TV has a higher refresh rate and VRR and all that kind of stuff. So FreeSync, so things could just run better. Everything seems to run better on it, no matter what. My PS4 Pro frame rates ran better on it. So it's just kind of one of those things. It's strange, but I wanted to get into this because everybody was kind of talking about it. What's up, everybody? Crapgamer here with Crapgamer Reviews. Thank you so much for checking out one of my videos. It means a lot to me. Please like, share, subscribe. I would appreciate that as well. And if you guys are looking for a way to support the channel, a simple like goes a long way. It's free for you, but means everything to me. I really do appreciate it. And, if you guys, like I said, want to hit the bell so you're notified of all the content, even better. If you want to, subscribe, even better. That's cool too. Shout out to all the old subscribers, new subscribers, and everybody in between. You're fantastic. Happy New Year, and I hope you're all doing fantastic and having a great New Year so far. It's been, pretty normal New Year to start off with so far. Nothing crazy or anything like that, but there was some stuff, like I said, like this that I wanted to talk about. We're seeing kind of a stark difference between what people's original idea of the Xbox Series X was and how it actually is versus the original idea of what people thought the PlayStation 5 would be and what it ended up being itself. So what was funny was, when Digital Foundry was talking about, and I'll link this, was talking about how when it comes to like Spider-Man Miles Morales and Spider-Man Remastered, that the ray tracing is really phenomenal and great hardware-based ray tracing that we haven't seen, the best ray tracing that we've seen so far this generation. And the funny thing for me was, I was bringing this up even before the Xbox Series X came out, was that this thing didn't seem like it was ready because we hadn't seen any gameplay. And once again, people called me a bit of a fearmonger or whatever. That's the thing of the day, right? Call CG a fearmonger when he brings up truth and facts. To this day, I'll never understand why people do that. I mean, I brought up perfectly good reasons why, and the main reason was Microsoft themselves weren't going to have ray tracing in Halo Infinite when it was going to be a launch title. It was going to come afterwards, and then even like Devil May Cry wasn't going to have ray tracing at launch. It was going to have to be patched later. And then the two games that Microsoft really showcased heavily almost at launch was Yakuza Like a Dragon, which I don't think has any ray tracing, and Dirt 5, which again, no ray tracing, and those are more of like last gen kind of cross-gen stuff anyway, so nothing graphically impressive to kind of grab you or say, hey, this is exactly what it's going to be all about. But again, we just see that, like, and then the Xbox fan base sort of gets tilted on its side again. And I used to be heavy on that Xbox fan base. Thankfully, that's not the case anymore. I still like Xbox, but I just, how can anybody in their right mind sit there and back Xbox, with the way that they continually go out there and do this stuff, right? Like, again, and I talked about this for a couple of videos now, Phil Spencer saying he's excited for things 3 to 10 years away. That doesn't make any sense for me. You have the fanboys that sits there and go and covers for Phil and covers for Xbox, and no matter what they say, no matter what they do, and I just feel like that's something that is unfortunate. For me personally, I want to see Xbox be able to kind of stand on their own and sort of do their own thing. And I feel like I want them to also cater a bit more towards, I want to see them cater a little bit more towards the actual hardcore fan base, because I feel like that's probably the most important fan base in any aspect of gaming. They're the ones that run out and buy the games right away and stuff like that. So if you don't have that, then I don't know what to tell you. I think that you're kind of in a rough spot, and that's very, very unfortunate to say the least. So Microsoft really kind of focused on talking up the power and how they were going to do hardware-based ray tracing, how they're going to do this and how they're going to do that. And honestly, it ended up not mattering at all because they got outperformed across the board, which to me says the most about these developers and about what these developers are able to accomplish. And it makes you think incredibly hard about basically what's going on in the industry, where these developers are able to take such quick measures to get the most out of the PlayStation 5, and and yet on the Xbox side, they seem to only care about power these days. And still, we're in a situation where they were kind of stuck with this pretty bad narrative that they're going to do something some way or another. You know what I mean? Like, again, they really kind of painted themselves in a corner by talking up power, and talking up all the things that they're able to do, and you know how they're going to be the best place to play and the best ray tracing and all this stuff, and none of that stuff has come true. And then not only has that stuff not come true, but they also still lack the simple stuff like the games, the exclusives. You know, even though for years now we've been hearing about how they were going to rectify that problem. So it doesn't look like it's been rectified. It doesn't look like it's going to be rectified for years to come. And yet you still have people sort of making their excuses. And even for stuff like this that Digital Foundry points out, you have people making excuses for Microsoft yet again. And, you know, it's just kind of sickening to me. I would love all you guys to let me know what you think. Sound off, rate, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Please stay safe, happy, and healthy. Rack 'em up. Game on, my friends. Game on. Crapgamer out.
Unscripted.